Hey Travis, you okay? You wanna hold Mortimer? It's okay, buddy.
It's okay. It's okay.
In 1996, a high school girls soccer team from Muskeg High School was on their way to nationals. Unfortunately, this flight was never destined to actually make it. The flight path had left the plane veering off course about 600 miles north, and everyone on that plane was presumed lost or dead. Survivors of the crash were out there for around 19 months, and upon their rescue, their numbers had dwindled a lot less than to those who had entered onto the plane that day. Who were the members of the Yellowjackets soccer team that got stranded out there in the wilderness? What was their story, and what was their role to play in the girls' survival out there? In this series of videos, I hope to break down each one of the Yellowjackets soccer team that has had a bit of a narrative element or enough context to piece together what their story could actually be. As well as, if their character is still around by the time of shooting this, I will be predicting where their character could go.
That being said, hello wilderness survivors, fellow mudbeards, and Yellowjackets if you're watching. And we're officially starting off on my new series of videos hoping to break down each one of the Yellowjackets. I'm going to be trying to release these leading up to Season 3 finale, but there's a chance that it will actually go past that point. Either way, I'm really interested in diving into each one of these characters and kind of putting my own thoughts onto video form. But I'm sure there'll be many things I missed, so if you know any interesting facts or trivia about some of the characters or actors playing them, then feel free to let me know down in the comments. Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it.
Oh, that's great.
Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. And on today's video, we're going to go ahead and cover Akilah. Akilah is one of those characters who has always been very in tune with nature. It's really awesome to see how she's able to just seamlessly adapt with the animals around her, because animals are very cute. And she knows that if you can bond with one, they'll be yours forever. And you can raise an army of them and take down all your enemies. But they also freak out if they're on camera for too long, so I'll be back. Akilah is not only Mother Nature's favorite, but also all of ours. The only thing keeping her from being my number one is the fact that she won't end up in that pit. But outside of that, it's universally known that Akilah is probably the sweetest member on the team. And ironically enough, probably the one person that doesn't actually deserve to be there. Let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, when the Yellowjackets had first started, we see a very brutal opening scene that kind of illustrates some of the dynamic between the girls and some of the severity and lengths some of the girls are willing to go to get what they want. This results in Ty seemingly purposely breaking Allie's leg, as opposed to freezing her out, which was the original plan. An interesting thing to note though is that because of this, Allie was no longer able to go to nationals with everybody. In any normal circumstance like this, you'd use somebody from maybe your JV league or somebody else to be able to take the spot. And I believe that Akilah is the one character who did take that spot, thus further solidifying the fact that she was never meant to endure any of the stuff that happens to her here. See, both Allie and Akilah wear a Yellowjackets jersey with the number 11 on it. And I believe the narrative we've gotten with Akilah does actually build towards the whole narrative of Yellowjackets as a whole. Let's go ahead and break down her character. Akilah was a character who was played in Season 1 by Kia King, and then followed up in Season 2 and 3 being played by Nia Zendaya. Like I say with most people, both actors absolutely kill the role. She's very much a girl's girl, very nurturing, very in touch with nature. However, she's also very steadfast and logical. You could tell that whatever her upbringing was, at some point it gave her the smarts and the necessary resources to be able to survive out there. Throughout Season 1, we get a clue as to who is actually capable of surviving out in the wild and who isn't really prepared for any of it. We see right away that Misty is one of the most valuable people there in the knowledge that she actually has. And one of the first people to acknowledge how important Misty was is actually Akilah. Fast forward this, and it seems Coach Ben also seems to have some survival skills. This makes them the only three out there that have some sort of useful tool or talent that can help them all. And while we didn't get too many context clues as to who she was as a person in Season 1, we could see that she had a bond with both Mari, Laura Lee, and Ty. Fast forward this to season 2, when predicaments are a little more rough and the girls' mental states are starting to deteriorate. We can see by the time season 2 has started that Akilah has really found a belief in Lottie, which is just interesting because she, like Ty, is also very logical and very focused. She's actually one of the few people who kept studying after the crash in the hopes of when they made it back. We get more depth to her character in season 2, where she talks more about her family and how eager she is to get back to them. We also get some more bonding moments between her and Ty and her and Mari throughout the season. One of the biggest character arcs she had in season 2 was imagining a mouse. See, she believed she found a cute little creature scurrying around and decided to take care of it, knowing that if any of the girls knew it existed, they'd probably eat it on the spot. And while that is technically a fair assumption, unfortunately for Akilah, she was actually hallucinating the whole time, which was really heartbreaking to see because even though she was hallucinating and it did kind of break her a little bit, you can tell that she is so hungry that she almost attempted to eat it again later in the story. Cut to the time of the hunt, and you can see that Akilah is not very much about what's going on. When she holds up her card, it's almost instant and very much without any energy put behind it. This clues us into the fact that she is not a fan of any of the stuff going on right now, but she's willing to accept it because of the predicament she's in. Fast forward to when they actually do their first hunt and they're chasing Natalie. When Javi accidentally falls through the ice, Akilah is one of the first and only people to say that they can actually still help him. Nat did also try, to be fair. What's also interesting about Akilah is she kind of steps up for everybody when she needs to. When Van got attacked by the wolves, she was very much taking care of her and nursing her back to health. When Shauna was going through labor, Akilah was the one that stepped up and tried her best despite the huge lack of knowledge she had about the subject. And another interesting thing to know is almost all of the girls out there has expressed some form of jealousy or envy outside of both Akilah and Van. Van just has a lot of confidence versus Akilah, you can tell, still is not very sure of herself in a lot of these situations. However, that doesn't negate the fact that when Misty comes through and is able to kind of save the day and be able to pick up from where Akilah was leaving off, Akilah simply stepped back and let Misty do her work, realizing that it's much more important for Misty to be able to help than any sort of pride she might have had. And I know that's a low bar, letting somebody who's more knowledgeable than you actually helping with the labor process, but given how a lot of these characters have reacted to even the most minor of dialogues or slights against each other, it's cool that she just naturally has a very kind heart. Fast forward to season 3, and this kind heart continues. See, when Travis was being pushed by Lottie to kind of try to hear the wilderness again, Akilah immediately notices his discomfort and brings him Mortimer, a happy little duck, to be able to provide some sort of comfort to him. And she doesn't stick around, she doesn't try to therapy him, she doesn't try to make sure he's okay, she just supports how she can and walks away. This results in Travis immediately throwing her under the bus and letting Lottie know that she doesn't have to keep putting mushrooms in his face, put them in Akilah's. It is interesting to know that even though it was sort of a deflection, Akilah does happen to be able to tap into the wilderness. Season 3, she's one of the biggest characters to receive a lot of hallucinations/visions, each of these visions sort of guiding the plot and narrative. But what's interesting to know is she's not immediately all about it. Even though she was a supporter of Lottie, she immediately picks up on Lottie's aggression towards her and shuts her down, letting her know that she wasn't interested in letting Lottie do whatever she was doing to Travis to her. I love moments like these because with Akilah being so soft and nurturing sometimes, it's easy to forget that she's also really smart, pretty self-aware, and not one to be pushed around so easily. Interestingly enough, she had the most audience reaction to the whole standoff between Shauna and Natalie by the end of the season when they were discussing rescue.
What is even happening right now?
And as of right now, we don't really know where her character could go. It seems that everybody is dreading winter and possibly being picked for the next hunt, and Akilah even vocalizes that she'd prefer to just be picked herself because she's tired of all this. An interesting thing to know is I feel the show has been leading us up to a certain point for a long time. The season finale has yet to air, so I could be completely wrong, but I thoroughly believe that Akilah will and is destined to be left behind out there. And I say this for several reasons. 1, she wasn't even meant to be out there in the first place. 2, if there was going to be another adult to return, it'd be weird if they were already back in civilization and just kind of hanging out in secret, as we've already had a few of those. 3, she has a vision where seemingly it doesn't lead to anything and she sees a 3-eyed bear and a camp flickering between empty and full. Akilah screaming into the distance, "Where are you guys? What happened?" Now Travis did point out the fact that a lot of these cave hallucinations were just her puffing on fumes and losing it a little bit. But just like with Lottie's character, a lot of these visions and hallucinations do tap into something pretty significant. Like the fact in the same dream where everybody was missing, a bear shows up with 3 eyes. That bear is actually considered, thanks to my comment section for letting me know, a Kodiak bear, which is pretty indicative of what was going to happen in future episodes. Now cut back to the hallucination with Jackie, Van, and Shauna. When they're passing the symbol bracelet around, Akilah is the only one who takes no damage. She is also one of the few people who is put on the pressure of helping everybody else, which very much fits in line with her character as a whole, but it is interesting to see. Now I also feel there's been some visual context with a lot of this stuff. See, the writers like to do these small little moments that end up leading into something bigger, like the fact that Mari reaching the fork in the road and deciding to tell the girls where Ben was could eventually lead to her downfall in the season finale. Full circle moment. Another full circle moment is right after Ben had had his Achilles incident, all the girls were kind of separating, all of them kind of reaching a tough sort of disagreement on how to proceed. You can tell that a lot of them were just uncomfortable with their actions and putting this guy through as much torture as they were, but in the shot that lingers, we get an aerial pull away and all the girls kind of retreat into their different huts. And who is left alone sitting by themselves but Akilah? I also really appreciate that the writers utilized their budget for all these weird hallucination scenes and gave them to Akilah to help better establish her character. These scenes would not have been as significant if she just kind of went into the cave and fell over a few times and told us what her visions were. Which normally you'd think on a creative side, a lot of producers and execs would want Lottie to be the one to get all the visions just because of her character's popularity. So as a side note, if anybody does happen to be watching that works on the show, appreciate that narrative choice. That being said, Akilah continues to be played amazingly well by Nia Zendaya to this day, and we'll see if she continues to play the role in the future. Crossing my fingers she does so, because she really does bring the role to life. And I feel if anybody else inside of that camp was going to end up being the Antler Queen, it would have to be Akilah. Lottie is obviously meant to be the Antler Queen, however, if it was going to be anybody else, Akilah, for sure. Either way, what do you guys think? Is Akilah one of your favorite characters? Do you think maybe there's a darker side to her? Do you think she could end up even being the Antler Queen or end up being left behind and by herself? Maybe a combination of all four. Either way, this was honestly one of my favorite videos to make of the character breakdown, so I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think, appreciate your support, and remember if you're ever feeling down, just hold on to Mortimer.